My heart was beating Jim, Jim, Jim inside my chest like a big drum. I was standing in the rain inside the backyard of Madame Rose's orphanage. My hands were shaking as I held the shovel. I looked left, I looked right. Nobody was there. Everywhere was dark. Only the moon was shining small light on the big banana leaves. I digged the ground again. Kapoy! The shovel hit something hard. He was not a stone. He was not a root. I dropped the shovel on the ground. I went down on my knees inside the mud. I used my hands to remove the sand. My fingers touched something smooth and cold. I brushed the sand away. I screamed inside my stomach, but I closed my mouth tight. It was a skull, a small human skull. I digged small again, and I saw a red plastic watch on the bone of the hand. It was the same watch Samuel was wearing the day he traveled to America. But let me take you back to how this whole wahala started. My name is Chidi, and I'm just a cleaner. 2 months ago, I was suffering in the street. I had no food and no place to sleep. Then I heard about Madame Rose. Everybody in the city knows Madame Rose. She's a big madam. She's tall and fat with skin that shines like polished wood. She owns the biggest orphanage home in the city. People call her the mother of the motherless. They say she's a saint because she sends orphans to rich families in America and London for free. When I came to beg for work, Madame Rose looked at me with kind eyes. She said, "Chidi, you look like a strong man. I need someone to clear the grass and plant flowers. I will give you a room and food." I was so happy, I thought God had buttered my bread. The orphanage was beautiful. The house was painted white like a cloud. The children were always laughing. They ate rice and chicken every Sunday. But the most special place was the backyard. The backyard was filled with banana trees. I have never seen banana trees like this in my life. They were tall and strong. The bananas they produced were very big and yellow. They were so sweet like honey. People used to come from far places just to buy Madame Rose bananas. Madame Rose used to say that her bananas are special because she preys on them. I did my work well. I swept the compound, I washed the cars, I played with the children. But I noticed one thing. Madame Rose did not allow anybody to enter the banana garden in the backyard. She put a big padlock on the gate. She said the snakes there are dangerous. She said only herself can go there to water the trees. Then the adoption started. The first child to go was Samuel. Samuel was a clever boy of 7 years. He liked to follow me around when I was cutting grass. He had a red plastic watch that he loved very much. He told me, "Chidi, when I go to America, I will buy a big car for you." One day, Madame Rose gathered everybody. She was clapping her hands. She said, "Praise the Lord. A rich family in America wants to take Samuel." We threw a big party. We ate jollof rice and drank mineral. Madame Rose was crying. She hugged Samuel tight. She said, "Go and be a good boy, my son." A black van with tinted glass came to pick Samuel in the night. We all waved goodbye. But that night I could not sleep. I went to the window to look outside. The moon was bright. I saw Madame Rose in the backyard. She was holding a shovel. She was digging a hole near the fence. I was confused. Why is Madame Rose digging by this time of the night? The next morning, I looked over the fence. I saw a new banana tree planted exactly where she was digging. It was small and fresh. 2 weeks later, another child named Joy traveled to London. The same thing happened. A black van came in the night. Madame Rose cried. We waved. That same night, I saw Madame Rose in the garden digging again. The next morning, another fresh banana tree was standing there. My body began to scratch me. Something was not right. Why is it that every time a child travels, a new tree will appear? So tonight, I decided to find out the truth. I waited for rain to fall so nobody will hear me. I climbed the fence into the forbidden garden. I went to the newest tree, the one that appeared after Samuel left. Now I'm looking at the small bones in the hole. I'm looking at the red watch on the skeleton's wrist. The rain is washing the mud from the skull, and it looks like Samuel is looking at me. Suddenly, I heard a sound behind me. Someone stepped on a dry leaf. Critch! I turned around quickly. Madame Rose was standing there in the rain. She was not smiling. She was holding a heavy iron rod in a hand. "Chidi," she said softly, "why are you disturbing my children when they are sleeping?"
My legs turned to water instantly. I wanted to run, but my feet were stuck deep inside the mud. Madame Rose stood there like a giant statue in the rain. The water was pouring on her face, but she did not blink. She just held that heavy iron rod and stared at me. I knew that if I told her the truth, she would kill me right there. She would hit my head with that iron and bury me inside the hole with Samuel. Nobody will find me. Nobody will ask for Chidi, the cleaner. I had to use my head. I had to lie. I swallowed the fear in my throat. I used my hand to wipe the rain from my face. I looked at her and lied. I said, "Madam, I saw a big snake enter here, a very big cobra. I was afraid it will bite the children, so I chased it here. It entered this hole, so I was digging to kill it." Madame Rose did not move. She looked at the hole where I covered the skull. She looked at the shovel in my hand. Then she looked at my face. Her eyes were dark like charcoal. I stopped breathing. I waited for the blow. Then suddenly she smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. She dropped the iron rod. She said, "Chidi, you are a good boy. You care about the safety of my children, but you should be careful. The snakes in this garden are very dangerous. They are not ordinary snakes. Come inside. Let us dry our body. You are shivering." I followed her to the main house. My heart was still beating fast like a drum. Why did she not kill me? Does she believe me, or is she playing a game with me? We entered the big kitchen. It was warm inside. The house was quiet because all the children were sleeping. Madame Rose sat on her big chair. She pointed to a small stool and told me to sit. I sat down on the edge of the stool. I was ready to run any time. She stood up and went to the fridge. I thought she was going to bring water or tea, but she came back with a bunch of bananas. They were the big yellow bananas from the garden. She placed them on the table between us. The smell of the fruit was heavy in the air. It smelled too sweet. It smelled like perfume and rotten meat mixed together. She said, "Chidi, you look hungry. Eat. You need strength for your work." I looked at the bananas. My stomach turned upside down. I remembered the skeleton of Samuel hugging the roots of the tree. I remembered the red watch. I knew that these bananas were feeding on the bodies of the children. She picked one banana and peeled it slowly. The skin made a soft tearing sound. She held it out to me. Her eyes were wide and open. She said, "Eat it, Chidi. It is very sweet. It is full of life." I took the banana. My hand was shaking. If I don't eat it, she will know I know. She will know I saw the body. I had to pretend. I closed my eyes and took a small bite. It was soft and mushy. It was sweeter than sugar, but to me it tasted like dust and blood. I wanted to vomit, but I forced myself to swallow it. She watched me swallow. She nodded her head. She said, "Good. Nothing goes to waste in this life, Chidi. Everything comes back to us." She leaned close to my face. Her voice became a whisper. She said, "Don't go to that garden again, Chidi. The spirits there don't like visitors. If you disturb them again, they might take you. Do you understand?" I nodded my head quickly. I said, "Yes, madam, I understand." She smiled that cold smile again. She said, "Good. Now go and sleep. We have a lot of work to do. On Friday, little Amara is traveling to Canada. We need to prepare her very well." My blood ran cold. Amara.
The little girl with the 2 front teeth missing. She was the only one who helped me sweep the floor. She was always singing. She was the next one. I stood up and walked out of the kitchen. I walked to my small room at the back of the boys' quarters. I locked the door and put my bed behind it. I went to the bucket and vomited everything in my stomach. I sat on the floor and cried. I cried for Samuel. I cried for Joy. I cried for all the children who had become banana trees. I remembered how the people in the city love Madame Rose's bananas. They fry it, they boil it, they make chips. The whole city is eating the children and they don't know. It is an abomination. I thought about running away. I can jump the fence and run far away to the village. I can save my life. But if I run, who will save Amara? Amara is only 8 years old. Today is Tuesday. She is supposed to travel on Friday. That means Madame Rose will kill her on Friday night. I have only 3 days. I wiped my tears. I cannot be afraid again. I am a man. I must stop this wicked woman. But I cannot fight her with strength because she is powerful. I must use my brain. I must catch her red-handed so the whole world will see who she really is. I lay down on my bed, but my eyes refused to close. I kept seeing the red watch on the skeleton hand. I promised Samuel's spirit one thing that night. I said, Samuel, I swear to God, Madame Rose will not plant another tree. I will cut down this forest of evil. Even if I die, I will save Amara.
The next morning, the sun came out as if nothing wicked happened in the night. The compound was full of noise. Children were running up and down, shouting and playing ball. Madame Rose was in her office, dressed in white lace, looking holy and clean. She was talking to some rich visitors who came to donate bags of rice. She was laughing and blessing them. When she saw me pass by the window with my broom, she waved at me, just a normal wave, but her eyes were watching me like a hawk. I went to the backyard to pretend to work, but my mind was calculating. I needed to know how she kills them. Does she use poison? Does she strangle them? If I can find a weapon or where she hides the fake papers, maybe I can show the police. But I cannot go to the police empty-handed. The police chief is her friend. He comes here to eat pounded yam every Sunday. If I tell him without proof, he will just hand me over to her. I saw Amara sitting by the swing. She looked sad. I went close to her. I asked her why she was not playing. She looked at me with her big brown eyes and said, Chidi, I don't want to go to Canada. I'm afraid. My heart broke. I sat on the grass beside her. I asked her why she was afraid. She said she had a bad dream. She dreamt that Samuel was calling her from inside a tree. She said she told Madame Rose about the dream, and Madame Rose gave her a special tea to drink so she can sleep well. Special tea. My ears stood up. That must be it. I told Amara not to worry. I told her Canada is a fine place. I had to lie so she wouldn't panic. But inside me, I made a plan. I needed to find that tea. When Madame Rose went out in the afternoon to the market, I sneaked into the main house. The house girl was busy washing clothes at the back, so the kitchen was empty. I searched the cupboards. I saw Milo. I saw sugar. I saw Lipton. Then I saw a small green bottle hidden behind the big tin of custard. It had no label. I opened it and smelled it. It had no smell. I poured a small drop on a piece of bread and threw it to the rats outside. I waited. 10 minutes later, the rat was sleeping deeply. It was not dead, just sleeping like a log of wood. You could poke it and it would not wake up. So that is how she does it. She drugs them first so they cannot scream or fight. Then she takes them to the garden and finishes them. I put the bottle back exactly how I found it. I was about to leave the kitchen when I heard the front door open. Madame Rose was back early. I froze. There was no way to go out through the front without her seeing me. The back door was too far. I quickly dived under the big dining table. The tablecloth was long, so it covered me. I heard her heavy footsteps entering the parlor. She was humming a church song. She was talking on the phone. She said, "Hello, doctor. Yes, everything is ready for Friday. The hole is already dug. The fertilizer is ready. Yes, the client is paying in dollars this time." My blood turned to ice. She calls them fertilizer. She calls the children fertilizer. She walked into the kitchen. I could see her big feet from under the table. She opened the fridge and took cold water. She stood there drinking for a long time. Then she walked towards the dining table. She pulled a chair out. The leg of the chair hit my hand. I bit my lip to stop myself from screaming. She sat down right above me. She was sighing heavily. She put her bag on the table. Then she dropped her keys. The keys fell on the floor and slid under the table, right next to my nose. I held my breath. If she bends down to pick it, she will see me. If she sees me, I'm dead. I saw her hand coming down, a big hand with gold rings. It came closer and closer to my face. I closed my eyes and prayed to God. Her fingers touched the keys. Her fingers brushed my hair. She paused. Her hand stopped moving. She said quietly, "Is that you, Chidi?" I did not answer. I did not breathe. She stayed like that for a long time. Then she grabbed the keys and sat up. She laughed a small, dry laugh. She said, "I'm imagining things. It's just the wind." She stood up and walked away to her room upstairs. I waited for 10 minutes until I was sure she was gone. I crawled out, shaking like a leaf. I ran back to my room. It was Wednesday evening, 2 days left. I knew what I had to do. I cannot fight her alone. I need help. But who can I trust? The only person who might listen is Father John, the new young priest at the church. He doesn't know Madame Rose very well yet. He's not part of her circle of friends. I decided to go to the church the next morning. But that night, as I was lying in bed, I heard a scratch at my door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I sat up. "Who is there?" I asked. No answer. Just a piece of paper slid under the door. I picked it up. It was a drawing. It was a drawing of a banana tree with a face. The face was crying. And under the drawing, someone had written in crooked letters, "I know what you saw." I opened the door and looked outside. Nobody was there. Just the dark night and the sound of the wind shaking the banana leaves. The game had changed. Madame Rose knew that I knew, and now she was playing with me before she kills me.
Thursday came with a heavy sky. The clouds were dark and low, hanging over the orphanage like a dirty ceiling. The air was hot and sticky. I knew a big rain was coming, a rain that washes away everything. I woke up with the drawing in my pocket. My hands were sweating. I knew I had to act fast. My plan was to run to the church and drag Father John to the orphanage, by force if I had to. I washed my face and walked to the big black gate. Sunday, the gate man was sitting there on his bench chewing a stick. Sunday's a big man with muscles like rocks, but his brain is small. I told him, "Sunday, a beg, open the gate and let me rush to buy soap for washing the car." Sunday did not even look at me. He just shook his head. He said, "Chidi, go back inside. Madame Rose gave strict order this morning. Nobody goes out and nobody comes in until Amara travels tomorrow. The gate is locked." I felt cold water pour on my spirit. I was trapped. I was a prisoner in a house of death. I turned back and looked at the main house. Madame Rose was standing on the balcony upstairs, looking down at me. She did not wave. She just watched me like a cat watching a mouse that has nowhere to run. I went back to the boys' quarters to think. I cannot climb the fence in the daytime because people will see me. I have to wait for the night. But tonight is the night she plans to kill Amara. Around 4 p.m., Madame Rose called me. Her voice was loud. "Chidi, come here." I walked to the kitchen. Amara was there, eating her last meal, rice and stew. She looked happy because Madame Rose promised to buy her a bicycle in Canada. My heart wanted to burst.
This innocent child did not know she was eating her funeral food. Madame Rose looked at me. She said, "Chidi, come with me to the garden. We need to prepare the soil." My legs did not want to move, but I forced them. We walked to the backyard. She opened the heavy padlock of the garden gate. Clang. We entered. The banana trees were swaying in the wind. The leaves were making a shh sound. It sounded like the children were whispering to me. Madame Rose walked straight to a spot near the back wall. There was a fresh hole there. It was deep and dark. The shovel was standing inside the earth like a grave marker. She turned to face me. The wind blew her head tie off, but she did not care. She looked at me with eyes that were too bright. She said, "Chidi, I know you found the watch. I know you know." I wanted to deny it, but my tongue was heavy. I just stood there, gripping my trousers. She laughed. It was not a wicked laugh. It was a gentle laugh, like a mother laughing at a foolish child. She said, "You think I am a bad woman. You think I am a killer, but you are wrong. I am not killing them, Chidi. I am saving them." She touched the leaf of the Samuel tree. She said, "Look at this world. It is full of suffering. If I send them to America, they might suffer. They might be sad. But here they are safe forever. They become trees. They give fruit. They are sweet. They are useful. I am a farmer, Chidi. I am harvesting angels." I looked at her and I saw the madness. She truly believed she was doing good. She was not doing it for money. She was doing it because her head was not correct. She stepped closer to me. She smelled like wet sand and old flowers. She said, "Chidi, I need a helper. I'm getting old. My back is paining me. Digging is hard work. If you join me, we can build a paradise here. You will never be hungry again. We will be partners." She pointed to the hole. She said, "Tonight, Amara will become a tree. You will help me put her inside. You will help me cover her. If you do this, you live. If you refuse, well, the hole is big enough for 2 people." She stared at me for a long time. Then she turned around and walked out of the garden. She locked the gate from the outside. I was trapped inside the garden of skeletons. The rain started to fall. 1 drop, 2 drops, then kapoo! Thunder shook the ground. The sky opened and heavy rain poured down. I stood in the rain looking at the empty grave. I knew there was no escape. I cannot run and leave Amara. Madame Rose thinks I am weak. She thinks I will help her because I am afraid to die. But she is wrong. I looked around the mud. I saw a big, sharp rock near the wall. I picked it up. It was heavy in my hand. I hid behind the thick trunk of the biggest tree. I waited. The darkness came and covered the garden. I waited for her to bring Amara. Tonight, the farmer will become the fertilizer. The rain was pouring down like stones from the sky. It was so heavy that I could not see my own hand in front of my face. I stood behind the biggest banana tree and waited. My body was shaking, not because of the cold, but because of the fear biting my heart. But I held the heavy rock tight in my hand. I told myself that tonight I am not Chidi the cleaner. Tonight I am a soldier. Then I heard the sound of the key turning in the padlock. The iron gate groaned and opened. Madame Rose walked into the garden. She was wearing a yellow raincoat that made her look like a big ghost. In her arms, she was carrying Amara. Amara was sleeping, her head resting on Madame Rose's shoulder like a rag doll. Madame Rose did not look left or right. She walked straight to the open hole. She was humming a lullaby, the same song she sings in church on Sundays. It made my blood boil to hear a holy song in this place of death. She laid Amara down gently on the wet grass beside the muddy hole. She patted Amara's head and said, "Sleep well, my angel. Soon you will grow tall and sweet." She turned to pick up the shovel. This was my chance. I jumped out from behind the tree. I did not shout. I did not scream. I just ran with all my power. I lifted the rock and aimed for her head, but the mud was slippery. My foot slid and I missed her head. The rock hit her shoulder hard. Madame Rose roared like a wounded lion. She spun around faster than I expected for a big woman. She saw me. Her eyes were not human anymore. They were the eyes of a devil. She screamed, "You ungrateful rat! You want to spoil my harvest?" She swung the shovel at me. I ducked and the metal blade cut the air above my head. Whoosh! I tried to run back, but she was too fast. She grabbed my shirt with her strong hand and pulled me close. Her other hand wrapped around my throat. Her fingers were like iron bars. She squeezed. I could not breathe. The rain was entering my nose. My eyes started to see black spots. She lifted me up from the ground. She dragged me towards the hole. She said, "Since you love the garden so much, you will stay here forever with Amara." I kicked my legs. I clawed at her hands, but she was too strong. I looked at the hole. It was dark and full of water. I looked at Amara sleeping on the grass. If I die now, Amara dies too. No, I cannot die. I gathered the last strength in my body. I used my 2 thumbs and jammed them deep into Madame Rose's eyes. She let go of my neck and screamed in pain. She covered her face with her hands and stumbled backward. She stepped on the slippery mud right at the edge of the grave. Her feet went up and she fell backward. She fell deep inside the hole she dug for Amara. I did not wait. I grabbed the shovel from the ground. She was trying to stand up inside the hole, reaching her hands out to grab the grass. I hit her hand with the shovel. I hit it hard. She fell back down into the mud, screaming and cursing. I ran to Amara. I picked her up. She was heavy, but I carried her like a feather. I ran out of the garden gate. I did not look back. I ran through the compound. I climbed the front gate. I jumped down to the street and kept running. I ran until I saw the lights of a police patrol van on the main road. I stood in the middle of the road waving my hands like a madman. The van stopped. I fell on my knees crying and pointing back to the orphanage. The next few weeks were like a bad dream. The police went to the house. They found Madame Rose still inside the hole, singing to herself. She had lost her mind completely. Then the digging started. They brought big machines. They dug up the whole garden. The whole city came to watch. People were crying. Mothers were screaming. They found 42 small skeletons tangled in the roots of the banana trees. The police showed the fake papers on the news. All the adoptions were lies. They took Madame Rose away to a mental hospital where they locked people who were mad. They say she sits in her room all day asking for her gardening tools. The government ordered that the orphanage must be destroyed. I stood there on the last day. I watched them cut down the banana trees. When the machetes cut the trunks, a thick red liquid came out. It looked exactly like blood. The crowd shouted in fear. I walked away from that place. I'm free now. I have a small job in a mechanic shop, but my life is not the same. When I go to the market and see a woman selling big yellow bananas, my stomach turns. I feel like vomiting. I see the faces of Samuel and Joy in the fruit. I see the red watch. People say bananas are sweet. They say fruit gives life. But me, Chidi, I know the truth. I know what makes them grow so big, and I will never, ever eat a banana again for as long as I live.